What are some truths about men that women just need to accept and get used to? Even if you're attractive, it's perfectly possible for a man to not be into you. Doesn't mean that they're in a relationship or that they're gay. Nobody is going to be desired by 100% of people, and that's fine. I've had women ask me out and I've said no. They get so offended and start accusing me of being gay. Like, just imagine having such a huge ego that you think the only reason a person doesn't want you is because they're gay. Guys talk and think about nonsense. It's not worth repeating or discussing. I'm sorry. Correctly ranking video game characters into their correct tiers is serious business. Then it devolves into which character would you least want to go up against in an Iron Chef style competition. Factoring for the surprise ingredient, of course. Men can't read your mind. Stop dropping hints and say what you want. In today's world, playing hard to get is probably not going to get you anything. It's been pounded into men's heads that no means no, so when you say no we believe you. The real truth is your hints almost entirely overlap with friendly/outgoing. Is she flirting just to be flirty? Or is she actually interested in me? Oh god. What if I say something and she was just being flirty? We would never be able to be in the same room without it being awkward on some level. Playing hard to get makes us want you less. Hard to get is hard to want. This a Bugatti is very hard to get. So I don't want to work all my life just for the down payment. So I'm happy with a Mazda. Deep inside we all want to ride with Theoden to ruin and the world's ending. On a red day, as the sun rises, Theoden King stands alone. Not alone. Rahirim. Freaking goosebumps, man. I'm finally getting around to reading the books and I just cannot wait for everything. Women need to understand that they cannot fix a man. I blame television sitcoms for the awful tropes about relationships. As humans, we all have our own internal motivations. This is a tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme. Just go on Tinder and get a date. No, Susan, fake name. I'm a 80% guy, can't just go on Tinder and get a date and or F-buddy. Stop asking guys to open up if you're not going to be just as supportive when we listen to you. Open up. Let me get to know you. Next week during argument I understand why your parent/relative abused you. Man up you baby back bitch. A woman my buddy was dating. An erection does not equal arousal. And it definitely doesn't equal consent. Agree. I get hard during cuddles. But it's like a comfort boner. I don't want to do anything other than cuddle at that time. It's just a nice feeling. I understand the consent one. Never been told a boner doesn't mean arousal. Good to know. I don't agree with number 4. Plenty of expensive stuff I want that I don't buy. And I don't even have a girlfriend to disapprove of it. I'll also add, men's dating success isn't proportional to how much they deserve to be successful at dating. I say this because a lot of dating advice implicitly assumes it. Often some version of if you have good intentions you'll succeed. Or if you aren't being successful it's because you're doing something morally wrong/sexist. Or you're great, I'm sure you'll find someone. Or just go talk to her like she's a human. If it seems like you're giving him hints and he's not picking up, it probably isn't because he's oblivious to nonverbal communication. It's probably because people vary widely in how friendly/outgoing they act by default. And so it's not as clear as you might think. One woman's just being polite is another woman's practically begging him to ask me out. The whole point of flirting is to express romantic interest in a safe, plausibly deniable way. So you aren't just putting yourself totally out there, but it wouldn't accomplish that if everyone's intentions were always 100% clear. Men have just as complicated inner emotional lives as women do, and boys are often emotionally neglected or punished for associating with their emotions until they just don't. The biggest misconception that women seem to have about men, especially women in their 30s and below, from my experience, is that they seem to think we are all stupid. I think it has to do with the fact that TV generally portrays most men as being really stupid. They confuse intelligence with indifference. I'm not emotionally unintelligent. I'm emotionally indifferent. Unless I'm significantly affected. I don't care. It's so difficult to explain it to a woman as well. In my experience, the fact that I genuinely care so little that I can't even explain how little I care blows my wife's mind. Work, for example, is a big one. When I'm at work, I give it my all and get it done, and once I leave, it's so far out of my mind I don't even remember what I did half the time, because it's done, so I don't need to care about it anymore. Meanwhile, she'll obsess about something that happened 3 years ago that doesn't affect her anymore and will never affect her again if she stops thinking about it. We are sensitive creatures. Despite what anyone would tell you, we just hide it slightly better than women because we have little to no emotional support. Funny thing is, that's our own fault. Is there anything on this earth that Reddit doesn't blame men for? Fayo. You know how some people say all men want is sex? Well, that's just not true. I can't believe that for a second. But I do believe that there are some men that only want sex. It's a situation of a bad apple ruining the bunch. Instead of running dating for yourself, just ruin your chances with those assholes. And understand that the large majority of men actually want to get to know you and have a relationship, not just sex. Also, wanting to have sex with a woman is not because you want to use her. It's often because you love her, want to pleasure her, and enjoy sharing that moment with her. I feel as a man sometimes women correlate wanting sex equals wanting to use my body. I can understand why with what some women have to put up with, but really I just don't find most men I've met / talked to are really that way inside. The problem I see is with people thinking that because I care about sex, I only care about sex. If my sundae doesn't have a cherry on top, it's not the whole package to me. That doesn't mean I care more about the cherry than the ice cream. It just means I want a cherry. We can't read minds. We were naively vulnerable with a woman once. Maybe it was our mother. Maybe it was our first crush. And we were ejected, or worse, for doing it. At some point we tried it again and got the same response. We learned from experience that it is better to die in our saddles than ever be dismounted. The more you tell us you want us to be vulnerable, the more convinced we are that you will in fact abandon us in that moment of need. Also, playing the don't trauma dump all at once or I'm not your therapist cards reinforce such belief even further. It's basically a confession that there's an actual list of emotions that men are socially allowed to share and still be respected. Besides, it never goes both ways. We all know what happens when a guy says such things to a woman when it's her time to vent. We don't do hints. Just say exactly what you want. There is no underlying meaning in what we say. It says in fact exactly why we say when we say we are not thinking about anything. We either aren't, or we are thinking of something so outrageous it would take forever to explain it. You still wouldn't get it. And it is actually so outrageous that it doesn't even make sense on why we were thinking about it in the first place. Just because we're sitting there not talking doesn't mean something is wrong. It's just nice. Women need to understand that hints can always be misinterpreted. If a person believes that a hint can only be interpreted one way, I was obviously flirting with him, then their secret intention was obvious to them in their own mind. But that doesn't mean their intention was successfully communicated to someone else or everyone else. And if a message isn't received, then no communication took place. Hints add unnecessary ambiguousness to communication, although some would argue that romantic hints add plausible deniability by keeping true intentions hidden in order to avoid the pain of rejection. Guys today are much more cautious about making the first move / initiating romantics because of all of the Me Too stuff. You might not think it, but having an idea hammered into our heads over and over actually changes our psyche. I just read earlier 50% of dudes say they don't want to make a first move cause they don't want to look like a creep. But I'd bet the creeps still don't care, cause they are creeps after all. So all that happens is less decent guys put in effort. Women aren't the first moves. So just get out of assholes saturating everything making men look worse. The final truth, men are not all the same. For instance, I personally disagree with most of the comments, but I'm sure they are true for some other guys. Likewise, some of my truths do not apply to other men. We are each a bit unique just like women. We are not all like the particular brand of asshole you keep dating. You're just drawn to a particular brand of asshole and keep finding new ones to date. A young woman at work made some comment today about all the men in her life making bad decisions. Well, either your standards are too high or you've only been around idiots. In the long run, we'll take a 6 that respects us over an 8 that's a hot mess. Women being you get +1 for being a fun person or matching out hobbies. For being someone who actually respects, listen to or looks up to us. And for actually being outwardly interested, flirting, initiating, physical, complimenting you can easily go from a 5 to an 8. 1. If you have not seen Yasu in all of their emotional range, do not get surprised when they show you out of the blue after marriage. It was always there. They didn't change. 2. Marrying each other doesn't mean each other. You are marrying the family baggage as well. Best to get to know them all. 3. You can't change each other, so don't try. But you can help each other to reach each other's goals. You can tell a man what you need done or how to do it, but not both. Trying to do both will end in fights roughly 100% of the time. I'll add one I see all the time. Your way to do it isn't the way. I don't get why women ask for something, get it done, then complain about that isn't how I wanted it. It's done in a way that works. You want him to take the reins, but also do it the way you want to. Cause if he steps back and let you do, he's lazy and not being a man. Mother did this all the time and calls it emotional labor. Have since been very skeptical of that word and its usage. She's the only one in the family who's upset. Whatever my dad did can work fine for the situation, but she's still upset. Men aren't perpetually horny animals. We aren't always down to fuck. Being a physically attractive woman means absolutely nothing to us. If you have a horrible personality or habits, sex is more than just a good physical feeling for us. It's highly emotional as well. Sex is more than just a good physical feeling for us. It's highly emotional as well. Definitely. And can also be a very vulnerable experience for men as well. Men and women are not the same. / If you want a traditional guy, you have to be a traditional woman. And if you want a traditional woman, you have to be a traditional man. / Moms are not qualified to give their teen sons dating advice. Quit trying to fill that dad void and just be the best mom you can be. I'll add to that. Most women give men horrible dating advice. There are certainly exceptions, but as a general rule, no. We are solution oriented, so if you vent, we will give you solutions because we want to help, not because we are controlling. That we are just as human as they are. It's quite a sad irony how many women genuinely don't believe that and generalize us the exact same way toxic men generalize them. I hate these kind of questions, where we are basically just saying that all men are just one big hive mind. Your number 2 point is just humans in general. It's the exact same for women. Number 3 is highly subjective. Lots of people don't want young women when they themselves are getting older. Just because your taste hasn't changed doesn't mean other people's hasn't / won't. Don't agree with number 4 either. Lots of expensive stuff that I want that I'm never going to buy. And again, number 5 is just humans in general. Women also need to spend time with their friends. / We want to help, and we'll do our best. We like clean and well maintained houses, too. But we also have our own opinions on how things should be done. And we'll do them our way, unless you're clear beforehand how you want them done. Hints don't work. Even after 30 years. We need clarity. Getting angry that it was done improperly after the fact doesn't make it better. It only encourages us to not want to help the next time. If you ask me to fold the laundry, and for a week I have to hear about how I folded the towels in 4ths instead of 3rds, I'm just not folding laundry anymore. It doesn't matter. It's folded. As others have mentioned, we can't read your minds. You can't just drop hints. Say it's nothing when it's something. Say it's okay when it's not. And in today's world you can't play hard to get. Men have been told since childhood that no means no. Many of us already don't even feel comfortable approaching women. fearing that we'll be seen as creeps or that our flirting will be seen as harassment. Most of us who aren't going to stick around if you say you're uninterested or act like it. We are also problem solvers. Something I've come to learn about many women is that they sometimes just want to vent. They don't want solutions. They want a listening ear. Most men aren't like that. If there's a problem, we want to fix it. So if you're just wanting to vent, please tell us that, and we'll be happy to just listen quietly.